Alright, hi there, this is the man in the shack. It's time for the next little bit of this. I wanted to go through the War of the Chosen models for the 1983 class of G.I. Joes. The second group. What I think of as, when they thought of the expansion pack, I noticed at one point anyway that, when they were starting to look at at different specialties and stuff, they had the obvious ones. They had the pilots, and Doc makes sense, and then the paratrooper to kind of go along because they were starting to go with airborne things. That's where Airborne comes from, is that somebody could ride in the Dragonfly with Wild Bill, and then of course Duke was his own thing, but it was Gung-Ho. Well, I had noticed Gung-Ho, Torpedo, Ace were, they had a guy that was from, a Marine, a Navy guy, and an Air Force guy. So they were like one from each branch. And of course, it wouldn't be until the next thing that Cutter comes around that kind of completes the set. But, I just had, noticed at one point that was kind of that was the clear motivation behind this first expansion. Anyway, I'd had a pretty good deal going with the first with the vanilla long war, or with the when they had moved it up to long war stuff, but with the vanilla version of XCOM 2, that the 1983 guys had gotten a makeover at one point and had gotten it looked pretty good. I'm happy to say that it's even better now with the small exception. But I'm just going to go through them. So Ace, to start off with, I've kind of I've long used this torso for Ace, and these big sort of puffy sleeves and the big sort of kind of puffy pants go well with how his sort of flight suit thing should look. I did add strappy stuff from the torso, and of course Ace's helmet has been, for the whole time, Ace's helmet has been kind of like, we just kind of do the best we can. There's not really a great analog for it. There's nothing that kind of covers up the whole bottom, and without not looking like Ace. In this case, what the guiding principle was that I wanted the domed top. In as much as possible, and I was willing to compromise on the lower part of the mask, which obviously I have. At least all of this is white, and then we've got what looks, this is the helmet that looks the most like his, in terms of having the big, the dome. So I think that's not, I think it's not bad. I think it's because you get this up here, that says Ace, enough to where I can live with the helmet. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with him. He's a regular old size guy, 50. Now Airborne is where the compromise is, and the problem. This Airborne is so far the worst sufferer of the not quite everything got ported over to War of the Chosen yet. There's a particular mod. AGRUS, I think is what it's called. It's some Rainbow Six crap. And in particular, there was a helmet that resembles Airborne's well enough, but more importantly was always colored green. This helmet is just on his secondary color. I can't, and so, you can tell what's wrong with Airborne is that his torso, this thing is shaped correctly, even a large backpack, but this vest should really be this blue color that's on it that I put on his gun for lack of needing to be able to do anything else about it. The rest of him is great. This sort of wrinkly, jumpsuit type of gear with the harness straps and stuff. That's good. And this helmet I'm actually okay with, the colored green, but of course this this piece, while shaped the right thing, is definitely not the right color. If I could make this blue, or if I could recover that other green helmet and have some other thing that was blue, which is how his old model was, then I would be, I would be happy. Because a lot of times you can get by just on the colors being right. The model doesn't have to be exact, but if you get the colors right, it sort of looks like him anyway, and your eye kind of fools yourself. In this case, this was the best I could do, and we're just going to have to live with the notion that he's wearing a black, a harness thing, vest. I can live with that. One other thing that is about him that I'd love to be able to solve, and I thought this might have worked, but it turns out it doesn't. Within these, they've added. See, he shouldn't be wearing goggles like this, but he should have them up on his helmet. There's one set where the doesn't work anyway. This is just the glasses, but the idea is that the ballistic goggles would be on his head, on his forehead, instead of on his eyes. And it's they have that option in the regular helmets, but not in these not in the upper and lower face props. Anyway, the whole point was that it doesn't matter because they're not thick enough to actually go through the helmet. So though they would exist in the same space and sort of overlap, it doesn't quite do the job. So there's still, several things that can be done to ultimately improve Airborne, but I think he looks pretty cool. The big wrinkly jumpsuit and the fact that this is all correct, the helmet, and we've got the blue, even if it's just on the weapon. So all of his colors are here, all of his components are here, mostly. They just don't quite line up. There's got to be something to improve it later on. Now, Covergirl, speaking of improvements, is one of the recipients. There's two recipients in this class of what is the greatest upgrade cosmetic upgrade that's happened so far, which is this coat piece from the Reapers. In the case of Covergirl, I was able to do what I've been wanting to do the entire time, and sort of simulate the look of a leather jacket with her, that she's like wearing like a kind of a bomber jacket. And with the combination of this torso with the jacket, with the first jacket piece, and these big arms that kind of cover over the shoulders of them, that really gives the look of a jacket that she's wearing. And that makes me pretty happy. I've revised her weapon color. I've had her pink hearts for a long time on the weapon, but I decided to color it and give it a pattern that is more evocative of the Wolverine, just to kind of keep her in line with what her vehicle is. And then her orange pants are the same as they were pretty much. Just big baggy orange pants, because she's not trying to look sexy. She just is. That's Covergirl. Now Doc has a pretty simple design and always has. There's been a major upgrade as far as I'm concerned, and the thing that really sets this off and makes me really, really happy with this model is the fact that I was able to make his glasses that green. If it was the entire thing, if these mirrored shades were also the green, I would be slightly happier. But I'm happy with it anyway. And of course, I don't want him carrying this gun, but that's nothing we can really do about that, at least in this form. So I gave him the legs with stuff on his legs, so he's carrying bags and stuff. He's got a big bag full of belts. Ideally, there would be pill bottles on the sides of his helmet, kind of strapped to his helmet or taped to his helmet, and they're not. But there's nothing there. Though there are little attachments that can go on the sides of the helmets and stuff. None of it looks correct. So I have to content myself with a really great model for Doc if he wasn't, if he's wearing not quite his own helmet and stuff. The glasses just really, really make it. That's Doc. With Duke, I've continued to use. This is a design that like when basically when this is the same form that I had in vanilla for him. It was these 3/4 sleeves. Everything else is subservient to that with Duke. He had to have the 3/4 sleeves, the problem with this set of 3/4 sleeves, which is the only one in there, is that it only works with some shirts. So I had less, freedom with the torso with him than I maybe would have liked. However, looking across the many different versions of Duke, this is what I think of as kind of like some best of hybrids. Okay, if you look at the Renegades version of Duke for one, although those that was made with a different kind of line style, but you know what? The one from Resolute, go watch Resolute and look at the way that Duke is got, because he's wearing a bulletproof vest in there and he's got kind of stuff on him and stuff. And this reminds me of his costume in Resolute, and that's okay. The other thing I was able to do with him with the color mod was that's the real thing with Duke that I wanted to get. I wanted to get the colors right. They were never before, but I was able to get this kind of orangey brown, tan, that his shirt and these pants, I think, are as close as I can get to Duke's colors. I literally went into a pixel thing, a picker thing, and figured out the RGB values of his normal, quote-unquote, normal look, and did my best to kind of work backwards from there and duplicate it as well as I can. I think this is pretty close. I think this brown and green says Duke to me way more than it used to. And I was always happy with the model, like I said. If you want to have something to base your look on, the stuff from Resolute is hardly the worst thing. Okay, so Gung-Ho, benefiting from the size. Him being much bigger now makes it feel a lot more like Gung-Ho. I had this much bigger mustache on him. I dialed it back. This one is actually called the Celic, which I think is hilarious. The components of his model have been around for a long time. What I've changed, I changed the colors some so that we could get both the blue and the green and the camouflage. Of course, the problem is, and the big compromise with this design, one of the couple of compromises with this design, is that his vest, although we have the correct shape of the vest, and I'm even happy with the chain and stuff. Not so much with the giant spider on the back, but you don't look at that as much. But the vest, of course, should be a solid color. It should just be the blue, and of course the hat, the patrol cap, should just be the green. Got all the right colors. I wish that this was available without the camouflage, and that this was also available without the camouflage, such that we could make this the right color and that the right color. I was willing to make the compromise of letting everything be camouflaged for the sake of him having, good golly, we got the right clothes. He's got a vest that's open, and he's got a patrol cap. We're doing pretty darn good to get Gung-Ho this close as it is for such an unusual design. And of course, the other big compromise with him is that this tattoo, this is the correct tattoo. This is Gung-Ho's tattoo, because one of my fellow modders has been very good about finding little touches of G.I. Joe, little graphical pieces of G.I. Joe, and including a lot of things that are available as assets. This is the correct tattoo, but it should be on his chest, of course. There is no way of putting a tattoo on a chest. When there is, if there ever is, then I'll fix that. But for now, we can content ourselves knowing that we have the exact correct tattoo, just in the wrong place. But that's okay. So there's a Gung-Ho. Snow Job is one that, again, his design is how I landed on it a while back. I absolutely love this look for him. I think this whole getup is perfect. It's got the hood down so that we can see his red hair, and so that he can have this expressive face because he's on the happy-go-lucky setting as far as like how it's happy-go-lucky, I like him to be this way. One thing I did, here's that ballistic goggles on the forehead like I was talking about. This is something that I recently put on there, thinking, because I didn't want it looks funny when it's on his eyes, because he's got his face moving around. I want to be able to see his face, like I said, but he's got the goggles. He's definitely got the goggles. That's always been kind of part of his figure and stuff. Sometimes they were on, sometimes they were off, well, Snow Job has been, since I was a little kid. Snow Job is probably one of my favorite figures. Not necessarily my favorite my favorite character, but although he's up there. But he was definitely always one of my favorite figures, and it's because of all the accessories and stuff. And so as much as possible, I'm trying to put stuff on him. And that those goggles are great, and that being on the forehead is a great compromise there. That's Snow Job. And again, a regular-sized guy. I keep thinking, it's like, okay, well, so some of these guys are athletes and stuff, because he's an athlete. By athlete, that's his deal. And where does are by athletes usually tall or short? Not necessarily. So it's not like if he was a gymnast, I would have made him real short or something. But he's a biathlete, so I'm just going to make him regular height. I'm having to make those calls. I'm trying not to have too many big people. I had her. She's small. Covergirl is small. Gung-Ho, very large. See, you know what? It keeps every time I put it to 55, it goes back to 54. That's okay. That's big enough. 54 is pretty damn big. That was the same thing as I had Steeler. And Duke I have is 51. A little bit bigger. So that was all those guys. Snow Job. Now Torpedo, who I used to have him just kind of in camos and stuff. Not necessarily trying to duplicate the wetsuit look. But this is fantastic. Oh boy. I mean, just the different components and stuff that seem, skin tight or whatever. This down here having the, having the two-tone, things, and just this mask combination. I wasn't actually the one that figured this out. One of the other modders that actually figured this out. This pattern of making his head look like that. But it just really makes him. I think this is a fantastic. I can't believe there's such a fantastic model of Torpedo to look so close as to how it should. Very, very happy with this. If you're looking at his. He's wearing shoes. It's not, he's not wearing flippers, and these pants are pants, but they have a close enough look to what he is, and it's more about this distribution of the different color on the inside than the outside, and that I think duplicates his look enough that it's okay that these aren't actually part of the wetsuit. It gives, it gets close enough. Tripwire, using the same, this is parts recycling. Same arms as Ace, same legs as Doc. And then he's got one of these armored fronts. I've talked before about how he's essentially the same as Flash. He shared a torso. The figure Tripwire shares a torso with Flash and Grand Slam, the armor thing. In these models, I have been careful to differentiate them, not just with essentially the paint jobs, but the idea that but using actual different models. There's enough armored fronts that I was able to make different models. Now, with Tripwire, there is his helmet. This is all right. There's in that very same Rainbow Six thing that Airborne's desired helmet is in. There is a helmet that, by gosh, looks just the hell like Tripwire's, like his real helmet with the things on the side, with the big things on the side, which I think are probably like he's EOD, so I imagine those are like sound dampeners or something. That particular helmet is not available, and so I had to sort of reconstruct it out of pieces that were in here. And here we have those ballistic goggles again, the dark ones, and this time over the eyes, and a regular helmet. And I actually love this look for him. I think I like with this you can see more of his face than you could with that other helmet. And so I'm tempted that even if that thing comes, if somebody port that thing back over and I have that access to that helmet again, I almost think I may leave it like this. The twitchy attitude is perfect on the characters that it's that I have it on. Not very many of them, but Short Fuse, Tripwire. There's it's a very expressive look, and I want Tripwire is kind of a goofy character. I want him to have an expressive face, and so I want to leave. While I want to have the helmet be his helmet, and like with the if you look throughout the different things, there's been different designs of Tripwire where you can see through this and where you can't and whatnot. The figures tend to have this dark, but sometimes the artwork you can see his eyes behind it and stuff. I'm happy with it like this. I think I think it works really well. So that's Tripwire. And last, definitely not least, my favorite out of this whole bunch, and this is the one guy I've wanted to get his model right forever, and oh my god, I think we're there. I don't know what else I can do to have this be the Wild Bill like I want it to be. This is again that coat. This is the same piece essentially that Covergirl is wearing, but it looks different because I didn't, because the arm, I didn't try to put big heavy arms over it. I put his, kind of, Wild Bill wears kind of a slim flight suit in green, and kind of a drab green, and a brown coat over it with straps on it and a knife and a cavalry hat and aviator glasses and a big old mustache. This is perfect. This is just the way that I would want Wild Bill to look. The green color on his weapon indicates the green of the dragonfly. Going along with all of the characters that are representing vehicles that their weapon, I sort of, as much as I can, is going to stand in for that vehicle. But yeah, this is to me the biggest win of the whole thing is that I got Wild Bill to look right now. The whole, of course, he's holding this, classing him up. I would give him one of the, I would make him into one that was a pistol primary, which there's different classes that have ways of doing that and stuff. And him with a pistol as primary, perfect. But yeah, just these model pieces have slowly come out over the whole time I've been, every time I've upgraded him, I've been happier and happier with the results. And this is really honestly touching on all of the different pieces that I really wanted for Wild Bill, from the large mustache to the correct hat, to the ability to get essentially a vest that looks like a vest and doesn't look, it doesn't just look kind of like I threw something that was the right color on there. Yeah. So there we go. That's 1983. Once again, Ace. Airborne. A slight compromise, but looking pretty good anyway. Covergirl. Doc with his new green glasses. Duke with correct colors. Gung-Ho with with the big size making up for the fact that the clothes aren't quite right. Snow Job looking pretty damn good. Don't know how that could be much better. Torpedo looking amazing. Tripwire looking funny like he should. Having a good time. The Wild Bill, the very best of the bunch. So, that's it. I'll do another one next time. I'll do 1984. That's it for now.